I'm back here on Broken and Healed TV with Dr. Jay Bernstein. Thank you, Dr. Jay, for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I think a subject that's really becoming more and more prevalent these days is the subject of mercury poisoning, mercury toxicity. I know it's something I battled with for many years. And, it's really important. It's important for everybody, but I think it's crucial for pregnant women to understand where mercury comes from and how they can protect the fetus. So, can you let us know what your thoughts are and what you've gleaned from the research?
Sure. Well, the first step is to understand that mercury is a neurotoxin. It is toxic to the brain of an adult for sure, but it's even more toxic to a baby, and it's even more toxic to the fetus because there's more development that needs to progress, then any toxin that's going to interfere with that progress is going to be have more of an effect. So ultimately the greatest effect a neurotoxin would have would be on the fetal brain. The question is, how does it get there? In order to get to the fetal brain, it'll have to, if in a pregnant woman, it would have to go through the placenta. The placenta has a barrier. It's a lipid barrier. So something would have to be able to pass through that. It would have to be lipid soluble. Now, mercury comes in three different forms. Two of the forms are not lipid soluble, but the one that's lipid soluble is called an organic form. And the two most common organic forms is the methyl mercury and the ethyl mercury. Methyl mercury is in fish. It's in the fat in the fish. Ethyl mercury is in thimerosal, which is in the vaccines. They're both lipid soluble. So even though the woman would get injected by a vaccine potentially if it had ethyl mercury or thimerosal, like one of the flu vaccines, um, that would go from the mother's blood through the placenta into the fetal blood, and then preferentially go into the brain of the fetus because the brain of the fetus is very high in lipid. So it can go right into the fetal brain. Once it goes into a lipid layer, it stays there. So if you think about it like this, like you have a glass of water and oil, if you put some organic, something that's lipid soluble in there, it'll preferentially go into the lipid. It will not go back into the water. So once it goes into the fetal brain, it stays there, and that's toxic to the brain. Then you have this situation with fish, where normally when we eat things, there is small percentage that may get into the blood through the gut. In various foods and various scenarios, they have different percentages of how it gets into the blood. But if something's lipid soluble, it's much more readily passed into the blood. In other words, you may get a much higher percentage of that of the fish, the mercury in the fish going into the blood than say another toxin that's not lipid soluble. So it's easily passed into the blood. It goes through the lipid membranes from the gut into the blood, and then of course, goes right into because it's lipid soluble. The methyl mercury from the fish goes um, into the fetal brain, just like the vaccine does. So that's the problem. The problem is that the mercury can be lipid soluble, go into the fetal brain, stay in the fetal brain, and not leave the fetal brain, and that's a big problem.
So now, is it as dangerous for a pregnant woman to be eating fish as it is for her to potentially get a vaccine with thimerosal in it? Are the risks equal?
Well, one thing you can think of is that one's injected. There's always a potential for higher um, um, efficiency of going into the blood because injection is a lot more efficient than having to pass through the gut. The other issue is that the vaccines have ethyl mercury and the fish is methyl mercury. Ethyl mercury is more lipid soluble than methyl mercury. So I would say the vaccines do have the potential to be much, much worse because of those two reasons.
So what do you think? What do we tell pregnant women? What should they be doing? What's the takeaway?
I think the takeaway is that the pregnant woman should not take any vaccines during pregnancy, and I would advise any pregnant woman not to eat any fish.
And by vaccines, we also mean the flu shot, correct?
Right. I mean, yeah. There are some of the flu shots that come from the multi-dose vial with the quote unquote preservative. That's going to have high levels of thimerosal, which is ethyl mercury. The ones that are in the single dose vial that have that ostensibly do not have the thimerosal, still has trace amounts of thimerosal in it. So I would stay away from both. And the reason why they put the thimerosal in the vaccines is because it's a preservative.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. J. And I think there are a lot of people that are going to be happy to get this perspective from an MD.
Great. Thank you very much.